All right, guys. So good evening, everyone. I know it's a bit late in your time zone, so we will try to make it and organize everything to be as much efficient as we can. So first of all, apologies for late notice on rescheduling our consultation from yesterday to today. I really wasn't feeling that great, so just wanted to make sure that I'm still like making things in a sense of it is productive to our communications as well as I'm not kind of like, all over the things at the same time. So first of all, um, I haven't gotten chance to look at the star digital assignment submissions yet. So what I'm gonna do for this week before our consultation number 4. So I will basically summarize it similarly as we did for the assignment number 1. So I will release your grades before our consultation, and then I will basically summarize all your work in terms of like the accuracy of the answer or at least the direction, provide you the feedback. So we will be rather individually than collectively be able to, first of all, break it down in terms of, for example, this section was correct, your answer was correct, or your answer wasn't correct, because this case, this assignment number 2 is slightly different from assignment number 1, because assignment 2 technically has a very accurate answer, but again, because of the standard deviation and normal distribution, everything would be graded similarly to the assignment 1. So essentially, again, just kind of like just to summarize it. So if I'm seeing that majority of you answered, for example, with, let's say, the deviation from my answer by 10%, and no one got exactly as mine answer, so that means that I will be grading you based on your answers rather than on mine. Make sense? So I can just see it sum up. Sweet. So then I know some of you wanted to ask some questions about Star Digital assignment. So again, guys, we had plenty of time to spend before the actual assignment submission. And the reason I was saying that, it's life and things may get slightly messy in terms of like our schedules, what is going on in our lives, especially like the format of things because of the quarantine measures. So if you guys have any questions in regard to Start Digital assignment or assignment number 3 Colgate, please make sure that you communicate those questions beforehand. You also can leave your question for the consultation, but if the consultation is on the same day as our deadline, it is a bit risky to have your questions prepared, get them answered on the same day, probably like 3 or 4 hours before the actual submission, and submitting them, following those very tight deadlines at the same day. So in order to prevent that from happening, first of all, I'm gonna extend the deadline for Colgate-Palmolive Company for 1 day. And if you have some questions in regards to Star Digital assignment, as of now, we won't be covering them on our consultation, but I will be available for next couple hours to answer all your questions. So feel free to shoot me. And if I found that there are some very important questions which could have affected the way of, first of all, you're thinking, the way you kind of like came up with the answer, we will make certain adjustments and communicate them on our consultation number 4. So maybe I will be open for kind of like revision rounds, or maybe I will give you some like a day extension after our consultation, so you can kind of like make small adjustments to the Start Digital assignment. Because there were some students who prepared their questions to be asked on the consultation. But again, I'm not a fan of that practice because it's a bit risky in terms of the way the deadlines were set. But kind of like to make sure that we're all on the same page, everything is followed, as well as you guys progressing towards honing your skills, more than open to have that conversation. And again, please prepare your questions or shoot me all your questions regarding Start Digital so I can look through them and to see whether your marks of all students, as well as the questions that person potentially should have got an answer to, would affect the way that person got particular mark for Start Digital assignment, so I can communicate everything properly on the consultation number 4. So far, so good? Okay, sweet. So for our consultation number 4, one more important thing. So for consultation number 4, I want us to spend not 1 hour, and make sure that consultation number 4 is not just like me talking, but you guys also get a chance to practice. As I was mentioning before, during the consultation number 2 and consultation number 1, that I'm gonna prepare like a very, let's call it like a quiz, similarly to what we did in during our lectures. So you guys will get a chance to practice some things for the exam, firstly, and secondly, we will kind of like recap, recall, remind you of all the things we've learned, as well as what should you expect on the exam. So the consultation number 4 will be consisting maybe some discussions regarding Start Digital, but mostly it would be like debriefing of the results. Then your questions regarding assignment number 3, and all the questions, comments, feedbacks about the course overall, and the small quiz as the exam preparation. Regarding exam preparation, for those of you who weren't present on our previous consultation, so I was mentioning that the format for our exam would be very simple. So it would be, the duration of the exam would be 90 minutes, and the structure would be next. So 1 module, list of test questions, then one module is open question, and the third module would be basically like pro forma or calculation based task. So similarly, it's very similar to our homework, or to, in a certain sense, assignment 2 and assignment 3, but very light form. So each of those modules or sections should take you approximately 30 minutes to accomplish each of those. So the format for the exam would be very simple. There would be like a call organized by either project coordinators or by tutor who will be present on your exam. Unfortunately, I won't be able to make it, but I will make sure that it would be very straightforward to you guys, so you won't get any questions and any difficulties on that front. But at the same time, you are more than welcome to use whatever materials you can find in the particular topic or question. So formulas, everything you need, please find those. For the test would be slightly tricky because, again, I don't want you guys to go and just basically have presentation open in your computers, go and flipping pages through throughout, for example, slides of day 1 versus day 2, etc., etc. So I want you guys to spend some time on thinking rather than just memorizing and trying to, know everything by heart. It's not the purpose. The purpose is there is a piece of knowledge which was given to you, or some sort of like a framework of approaching particular problems. My idea is to give you the point of view which you can reinforce, reintegrate, and then recreate and implement on your end. So again, I'm not forcing you guys to study and to memorize everything really hard, but the expectation is that before the exam and basically during your work on the assignment number 3, you will get a chance to look through all the slides, make sure that there are no gaps in the understanding why particular subjects were mentioned, presented, as well as making sure that the entire course is kind of well synchronized across all 6 days we were talking about, as well as through segmentations, testing, hypothesis development, as well as the actual pro forma calculations. Any questions on this on this matter before we jump to assignment 3, briefing? Okay, sweet. So, okay, thank you guys. So then let's jump to assignment 3, kind of like briefing, and I will basically spend like another 2-3 minutes just explaining what the whole objective is and what I want you guys to accomplish. And then I would like to give you guys the floor to speak about your questions, concerns, or things you just wanted to clarify about this assignment. So the assignment number 3 looks terrific. See, 24 pages, many different graphs, charts, information, etc. Yes, it is, but at the same time, I want you guys to learn and to develop one essential skill. It's not about reading from cover to cover. You need to read this assignment once and once only. But please be mindful of highlighting important parts you think may be useful for you. So how to understand which parts of this assignment are relevant to the particular problem we are trying to solve and which ones are not. So first of all, reverse engineer the process. Start with questions. Think on what kind of information may help you answering assignment questions as well as to providing certain calculations. So once you will be reading this assignment, you will be getting the piece of story, like the situation where the company was, but at the same time, you will be able to say, okay, that's good to know, but it's not really relevant to my calculations. This information is not really relevant to the entire story, but because of the way the numbers are presented here, it may be useful. So the way I prefer to work with assignments or any sort of like a business case presentations, like a pitches, you need to know which information you want to present and which information is really essential. So for example, for this particular assignment, I want you guys to focus on several things at the same time. So first of all, because you would need to build like the forecast and understanding on what's going on in the market overall. Please, maybe like 6 or 7 times, please, I'm asking you not to try to build a moving average or any forecasting models. And the reason for this ask is very simple. And I'm emphasizing this right now, and probably I will emphasize it once more, but it's not about building prediction models at all. You will be able to see the numbers clearly once you understand the whole situation on what's going on. So by saying the whole situation, I'm referring to, and again, hear me out, the usage of toothbrushes and toothpaste in the industry, as well as the average frequency of changing or switching to new toothbrushes, and then understanding how these two factors may affect the number of toothbrushes stored at home by the customers. So in order to understand that completely, you would need to understand the difference in advertising, difference in sampling, and difference in the industry overall. So once you understand whether how many toothbrushes are going to be introduced to the market, and therefore the volume will be either inflated or basically will shrink to the particular amount, that will give you the sense of direction. So again, it's not about taking toothbrush numbers for 1989, 1999, 1991, and 1992, and then just building the projection. That's incorrect way of doing things. And again, the way I want you to think of this assignment, it's seeing and connecting the dots across the line. So you would need to understand what was driving the sales, the consumption of toothbrushes, basically by factor or by component for year 1999, 1989, apologies, 1990, 1991, and therefore understanding whether that kind of pattern or changes in the factors, so for example, number of promotions or number of free samples, may drive the change. So once you start breaking those numbers into percentages as a total number of toothbrushes on the market for any given year, it will give you a very good sense of the direction. And once you start comparing those numbers, kind of like taking, let's say, the result for 1989 as a baseline, and comparing the increase, the percentage increase, or a KGAR, or whatever the index you're comfortable working with for each year, you will see the difference immediately. And then when it comes to saying or to answering the question on the trend, whether the consumption and the number of toothbrushes is more likely to increase or decrease, if you have all those factors built up properly and you see all those breakdowns of number of samples, number of other, let's say, direct advertising efforts, number of toothbrushes stocked in the households, like inventory stocks, you will able to see that. Are we clear on that one? Okay. So guys, please, if there are any questions moving forward after our consultation, more than welcome to send those to me and I will respond them immediately. Because again, I don't want you to prepare the list of questions and just wait for me to answer those questions on the consultation. It may not give you much time to prepare this, prepare your answers or the deck for this assignment. So again, if you think it is not really urgent question, more like a clarification, feel free to leave it for our consultation number 4. But if you think it's really crucial for your success and it cannot wait, by all means, send it to me and I will respond within next 24 hours. Cool? Okay, sweet. Yeah, aside of that, once you understand the general trend on how the things are going to be for the next couple of years, then start thinking about building pro forma, putting the calculations together, and making sure that your numbers are correct. Because the reason I gave you guys the homework, first of all, I'm talking about Best Buy case. So you got a chance to practice your work with numbers, as well as to spot if there are any issues or things you just, I don't know, missed because it was really not well written or not well worded. So it could have been confusing for you in a certain sense. So for this case, and again, for me, it's important to make sure that you guys are directionally correct. If your number or the overall result is not that different from mine, or direction it is correct, but let's say your number is, let's say, 10% lower than mine or 10% higher than mine, that's fine. But if it's like completely opposite, so you are either up or down by a couple millions, that's kind of like a big difference. So please again, ask and send me your questions beforehand so I can answer those. Okay, so I guess it's enough for me preaching, because so far we were doing a terrific job. What I saw based on the homework and on assignment 1, on our communications and the way you guys will kind of like spend the time trying to think of the way you approach the situation and then kind of like reworking certain things in order to make it more accurate to me. It's amazing. Honestly, I'm so pumped up. So thank you so much for doing this. And I believe this assignment would be not that different, because you have all prerequisites to making sure that you make all the calculations for this assignment, first of all, correct. and secondly, make the right decision or propose the right decision in the end. The only one thing we didn't talk a lot during our lectures was cannibalization. So just to kind of like to unpack it for you, cannibalization in this case would mean that once we introduce precision toothbrush, precision may take a share of sales, let's say Colgate Plus, the sales of Colgate Plus toothbrush, because essentially we were having two types of toothbrush, each of those, again, I'm just making things up as a reference. Each toothbrush were accountable for, let's say, 1 million, 1 million of toothbrushes sold for each given year. But because we're introducing the third one, the number of 1 million for both of those will decrease by 10%. Therefore, precision will take a share on overall market, despite we are not changing anything in the price, in the advertising budgets for those previous two toothbrushes. The cannibalization, it's a normal factor because precision would be more advanced, more progressive, and the functionality of the precision would be better. So it's kind of like intuitive that customers will or are more likely to go with newer product, with product which has more value, potential value to them, as well as the product which seems to them be more relevant and be more up to date rather than those previous two toothbrushes. Cool on that? Okay, that's it. Enough of me preaching, telling you things. What I can do for you? Please unmute yourself and let's talk. Just want to see what kind of questions you guys have or challenges. Okay, let me ask you another question. How many of you started working on assignment number 3? Just thumb up that so I can see that some of you are working. Or yeah, someone is talking. Saman, I guess it's you.
Hi. Hello.
Hello.
I didn't start this assignment number 3. I'm going to do it tomorrow.
Okay. Okay. From my understanding, okay. So, let me just think for a second. I just want to make sure that all our communications are well aligned, so you guys are all set for success. Because yeah, it's a bit tight in terms of schedule. Okay. So, okay, guys, here's a question. Are you comfortable, let's say, yeah, I see, Max. Okay, thank you. Are you guys comfortable with doing next thing? So, for example, if you have questions, you send me those to me. Instead of me responding to you directly, I can create a thread on Moodle and kind of like FAQ section, frequently asked questions. So, for example, your question without the name will be listed, and then my response to your answer will be provided beneath that question. And the reason for that, first of all, there will be many repetitive questions. I'm telling you for sure. But because you just, and again, it's kind of like it was originally my concern that you may not have enough time to read the case description before our consultation. But again, I'm very flexible. We can work it out. So let's do next thing. So once you're done reading this case, each of you, please shoot me all questions you may have. I will make sure that all those questions are answered, and I will post all responses on Moodle. So to make sure that nothing is missing on that front. And secondly, if you guys feel or you don't find the answer to your particular questions, send me a separate note saying, Eugene, thank you so much. We saw, or I saw your response to this, and these questions, but you missed this one. So I will make sure that everything is included, because this assignment is complex. So I don't want you guys to get completely lost in the details, but at the same time, continuously working on finding the right answer. For now, let's do another thing, kind of like a small kind of exercise. So let me share my screen. Huh. Okay, that's interesting. Olga, are you still with us?
Yes, sure.
I cannot share my screen for whatever reason. Host disabled participant screen sharing.
Okay, I will ask. It might take some minutes.
Yeah, no, thank you. Basically, what I wanted you guys to show that basically the most relevant sections of the assignment in terms of where you need to extract the numbers, and then basically to further explain certain terminology or certain wording for some sections. So can you guys open your assignment descriptions? I'm talking about PDF file. So I can take you through some concepts. So just to kind of like facilitate the absorption of all these tiny details. So just to clarify everything beforehand. So once ready, just put the thumb up or a plus sign so I can see it. Okay, Max, see your response. Yep. Kirilla, thank you. Saman, got it. Just waiting for Eri and Kenneth. I believe KC stands for Kenneth, right? Yep. Thank you, guys. Okay. So 1 second. Yeah, I still cannot share my screen, but okay, that's fine. Yeah, sorry, because there were some issues with Zoom recently, so we are kind of like trying to figure it out on the fly. So first of all, I want you guys to go to page number 11. So there would be a table E, alternative positioning scenarios for precision. So just kind of like to explain some concepts. So in this table, you have a general idea or a general assumptions which one of executives have regarding the launching precision toothbrush under assumption of niche product positioning or the mainstream product positioning. So here, first of all, and how you can use these numbers. So what I do encourage you guys to do, start with these numbers and use those numbers as your reference for your calculations. If you think that there are, again, only if you think that there are better ways of using these numbers and these numbers don't make sense, make sure that you use your numbers then and only then. Because the numbers and the assumptions, again, as we all know, may not generally reflect the reality. So what you may find during this the reading of this assignment, that some numbers in this table versus the numbers mentioned in the case will not be exactly matching or won't be matching at all. So what I encourage you guys to start with, first of all, start with this table and with these numbers. Once you create the initial set of calculations, don't delete them, just have them. And if you think that something is missing or something is irrelevant, shoot me a question. I will answer that question, and then we will decide whether it's better to progress with these numbers from this table, or it's better to come up with your numbers and your assumptions. Because again, it all based on the recommendations and the ideas you have. So your manager may have certain, let's say, certain way of thinking, but as marketing analyst job, it is our responsibility and duty to revise the numbers and to understand that, okay, these numbers were challenged or are being challenged right now. So why we are doing this kind of like a challenging numbers exercise is to understand whether this stress test or the challenging will help us to understand whether numbers are correct or incorrect. So once you start making calculations, you may experience that some of these numbers may not be exactly accurate, or maybe exactly accurate. I don't know, because again, we're all different, and for me, it's really interesting to see what kind of results you all come up with. Okay. Thumb ups so I can see some responses. Okay, I'm not trying to confuse you guys, but I just want you to kind of like give you certain watch outs before you jump into details into reading. So again, just kind of like to remove the effect of uncertainty on your decision-making process. So then another table, table D, page 10. This table, it's kind of like the capacity, it's a part of capacity and investment costs. So essentially, it breaks down on, how can I explain better? Like all manufacturing required, or equipment required to be purchased in order to create tuffers, handle molds, and packaging, like tuffle, basically the main part of the toothbrush, handle, and the packaging, basically the carton box. So those calculations cannot be like partial or proportional in the sense of it has to be always a whole number. Why I'm saying this? So if you calculated that we're expecting to produce and to sell 5 million toothbrushes, that means that we require certain equipment to be in place, investments, or associated production costs. And if you calculate that we need 1.2 piece of equipment, it's incorrect. It's either 1 or 2. And the reason for that has been you cannot use the part of the product line or the part of the equipment. You need to use a single machinery unit. So once or while calculating investment costs, watch out, always calculate the whole number, not the partial number. So no such thing as a number after decimal point should exist for the number of units or number of machinery required for producing toothbrushes. Are we clear? Okay. And then one more table. 1 second. Please go to the page number 21. It is exhibit 13, retail toothbrush sales, 1989 till 1992. E states for estimate. So if you see 1991 or like the hard number without letter E, it means that it's a factual result. E stands for estimate, so it's kind of like the projection. So why I wanted you guys to see this table. So again, where the possible confusion may came from. Be very picky and particular in understanding the difference in numbers between toothbrushes and dental market as the whole. When you see that the results given for dental market for toothbrushes and the results given for toothbrushes, two separate tables, two separate paragraphs, two separate line on two separate pages, that's fine. Those probably are relevant or comparable, so to say. So following formal logic rules, item A equals item B. However, when you see that the dental market is expected to grow by 20%, and then you're getting the breakdown or may not be getting a breakdown of different results. So for example, dental market consists of different products like toothbrushes, some sort of, what's the name? Dental floss, the actual supplementary products, which may not be toothbrushes. So every time when you read the numbers, please make sure that you're comparing comparable. So you're comparing toothbrush against the toothbrush or segment of your competitor based on the sales in toothbrush units, but not overall, not by the dental products, which may include the toothbrushes, but overall it would be inflated numbers. So I don't want you guys to get the sense that you're comparing apples against pineapples, because those items are not really comparable. Clear on that one? Okay. And then another quick thing. 1 second. Please go to the page number 3, table A, major new products in the super premium toothbrush segment. So you will see a lot of different terms used in this case, but overall many of those would be based around the term called SKU, which basically means the number of units on a shelf in retail store. So think about that in the next way. You are at the checkout. Basically, best Ukrainian store to give you as an example. Damn, haven't been in Ukraine for a while. Okay, so let's say it's Silpo. So remember when you put your products on the line and the cashier kind of like scans every single products, there are like a lot of different shelves. So you can pick Tic Tac, Mentos, Snickers, nuts, like all those snacks. So SKU there would be considered as one kind of like a holder where you can put either 3 Snickers or kind of like a box or 3 toothbrushes. So if you go from the checkout and you go further into lines, you will see that all items are organized in a certain position. So for example, if you go to even like a dental product area or a section, you will see that, for example, on one shelf, you may see, and again, kind of like homework for you guys, when you will be in a store, locate how many different or what's the composition on the toothbrushes in the particular store based on the number of boxes or number of actual toothbrushes, which will be either positioned like vertically or will be basically lying down on the shelf. So you will get something like this. So my wallet, basically here, then headphones, and then probably my cell phone, which all will be corresponding to a separate SKU or a separate unit on a shelf. So those SKUs, they're usually or normally, they are all following the particular dimensions. Again, not really familiar with how it works in Ukraine, but the last time I was, it's pretty much the same spacing. So the retailer, for example, you as a business owner, you communicate with the companies based on the numbers of sales they are anticipating, as well as the number of SKUs or the shelf space you are willing to provide for the particular company. So the number of SKUs or just the SKU as a standard would be corresponsible for the space. So you may find like a lot of different wording in terms of like, okay, for example, for this table, like 10 adult, 6 adult, 1 child. So it all would be basically given by the size of the toothbrush as well as by certain dimensions. So again, don't jump too deep into details, but just read quickly about SKU on internet. And if you get any questions about that one, shoot me a message. I will provide. Yep, thank you, Michael. Yeah, so your comment. So basically, you will be able to see and to find all the answers in the internet. Can you guys see my screen, first of all? Nope, I guess it's the wrong screen. 1 second. Okay. Okay, sweet. So basically, don't focus too much on understanding the terminology. Certain terminology is essential, but just SKU as a general, basically the wording, it will be about all the spacing. And when you see like the certain explanations on who may use that particular SKU. So for example, the certain positioning of the SKU will make that, for example, you are standing in, let's say, dental product section. So there are 1, 2, 3, 4 different lines of shelves. So certain shelves are easier to be reached by adults and adults only. So you just grab that. So technically, you are, as an adult, you can grab it easily. But certain shelves, basically like the row 1 or row 2, starting from the bottom, are more accessible to children. So certain products, if you think about, let's say, as a marketer or as a business owner, let's say you are targeting or you're trying to sell your products to children. You're not gonna put an item for sale for children on a shelf which only reachable by adults. Make sense? So it would be basically on lower shelves. So the number of SKUs on the shelf will correspond to the certain position or to the certain reach per person, rather than just basically for all the audience. Okay, so far so good? Okay. And then I know that numbers are slightly kind of like dated. We're talking about 1992, 1993. It's not about the time or not about the actual data used in that time. It's more about the situation and understanding the situation, because this case has been around for a while. It all the information, all the details being rewarded couple times, as well as analyzed several times. So there are like good number of things you may discover, as well as a good number of things you may to propose. So the reason why this case has 24 pages, it's basically that thing. So every time when the person was getting question or required further clarification, this case was revised. I read it probably like a couple years ago about this case. It's kind of like interesting story. But essentially, guys, don't be offended, so to say, by the date in this case. It's pretty much relevant to modern days. The only thing that is different now is basically the way that SKUs are measured and how you as a business owner understand that data is captured. So it's not like the physical shelf right now, it is the mix of physical and digital. So you have certain sensors, or for example, certain, what's the word? So yeah, there are, as far as I remember, basically sensors. So saying that if number of toothbrushes from this particular SKU is decreasing, so people took 3 toothbrushes, the system will indicate to the end user that we need to restock this particular shelf. It's been in use only in certain stores, but I believe over probably like over the next 5-6 years, it will be more and more common. So technology matters, but what matters for us as for analysts is just to understanding the idea behind numbers. So again, as I mentioned before, don't build the forecast based on moving averages or just the forecasting raw numbers. You need to understand the logic behind. And last year, I had a student who was really brilliant, but that student decided to spend not much time on reading particular section and understanding those, but operating under certain assumptions that basically, okay, we're seeing that for every given number of years, the number of toothbrushes sold was increasing. Okay, therefore it's increasing. So in other words, it wasn't like the actual moving average, but essentially it was exactly the same mistake that person made. So I want you guys not to make that mistake, because again, it would force me to basically grade you accordingly. Secondly, I will be honestly feeling bad about doing that, because it will indicate that I probably didn't make a clear, and secondly, make something I didn't provide you enough rationales and enough details on how to approach this case. Okay? I know it's a bit kind of like all the way from different parts, but I'm just trying to make sure we cover some different areas which you probably will spend a lot of time thinking of, but it may not be the right thing to do. So again, for forecasting, understand the breakdown, the composition, the factors which were affecting the sales, and understanding how those factors were changing throughout the time. So don't refer to the total number of toothbrushes sold as the only point of truth. Refer to other indicators such as average data usage, frequency of purchasing new toothbrushes, and try to understand if there are any correlations or if there are any changes in the possible number of toothbrushes being stocked at home by customers. So therefore, giving you the heads up, probably not, but you need to understand that people still spend and don't stock toothbrushes at home, so therefore they purchasing patterns are the same or not the same throughout the years. So if in 1989 people were purchasing, and again, I'm just making things up, 2 toothbrushes per year, using them completely before throwing them to garbage. So in 1990, that trend may change because of sampling. So certain dentists give a customer a free toothbrush just to test. So therefore, person purchased 2 toothbrushes, but because he or she went to the dentist gave 1 toothbrush as a sample, and I believe many of you have experienced this. Therefore, when we are talking about 1991, person still may buy 2 toothbrushes, but will be having already 1 in the back. So if the frequency of cleaning the toothbrushes, of cleaning teeth will be increasing, therefore the number of toothbrushes, according to the survey or to the data in the case, will be indicating that number of toothbrushes will be sold in any given year because of the higher average usage of toothbrushes within that year is increasing. It may not indicate that number of toothbrushes sold in that year would be higher because of the sampling or promotions. Are we clear? Okay, right now, honestly, I'm proud of myself. I did such a terrific job. No one asked me any questions. I believe I do everything beyond and above expectations. Kidding. So these details or these nuances should be a big warning sign when you start coming out with the forecasted assumptions. So no more talking about that thing. Write down your questions, shoot them to me, and I will make sure that we have a certain kind of like consolidated document or thread on Moodle, so all those answers, all those questions are answered. We have 5 minutes left. Is there any questions or the things you just want to talk about in general? So, the floor is yours. Please unmute yourself if you want to ask some. Semen, thank you.
Hi, it's Kirill speaking.
Hi.
Yeah, and thank you for the explanations. It was really useful, and yeah, I'm really glad that I didn't have a chance to get acquainted with the home assignment, but I spent for one like a A4 letter to make the notes while you're explaining the things. So yeah, I have the only one question about the next our next Zoom meeting. So now it's set on the March 23rd. It's a Saturday and it's the latest evening. So it's between 8 and 9 p.m. But it's possible to shift it on the like morning period. I mean, before the lunch.
Before lunch.
And maybe if it fits to everyone's schedule.
I just wanted to ask everyone presented here. For example, does Saturday 23rd, let's say, 1 second, around noonish, like 2 p.m. time, work for you guys? Again, Saturday 23rd, 2 p.m. Just thumb up or minus, so we would understand what's the situation there, because again, I know that you all guys all on a different schedules or slightly different schedules. So Ari, see your response. 1 second.
Can I ask if you talk about the consultation on the 23rd?
Oh, sorry. Yes. Yeah, we are talking about shifting or rescheduling the time. So it would be still the same day, Saturday, but not 8 p.m. your time, but would be 2 p.m. your time.
The issue is that there is the group of students who will study, and I believe some of them are also like have the lessons at that time till 19:20, which is like 40 minutes only before the scheduled consultation.
Ah, I see. Thank you for clarifying, Olga. So, Kirilla, sorry, looks like we got some students at that time, but let me basically reconnect with Olga and Valentina. Maybe we will be able to find a better time or just to extend or to reschedule the consultation on another day. We will get back to you guys because I understand that for some of you, it may be a bit challenging to work the late nights. So we will respond to you on that note of offline after our consultation. Thank you. Any other questions in the meantime, folks? All right, sweet. So then, again, questions, let me know. About the timing, I will let you know, or someone from the program coordinator team. But given to the current state, we already have some students who would have had the conflict in timing because they have the classes on Saturday afternoon. So guys, thank you so much. At least on my end, there are no other details I wanted to share with. Next week, the brief discussion about debrief assignment number 2, expecting some questions about assignment number 3, small quiz as an exam preparation, just to recap of the program and maybe your questions on the overall program and the way that all things were connected. Thank you so much. Stay safe, stay healthy, and talk to you next Saturday. Bye now.